What do you have to say, Mimi, to the idea, which in everybody's program notes, it always happens, in every program note with the flute and harp, or the two concertos, or the quartets, that he said to his father in a letter, I really don't like writing for the flute. It's my least favorite instrument.
I think I knew what you were going to ask about at that moment. No, it's so famous. Yes, he did. February 14th, 1778. Wolfgang to Leopold, I cannot abide the flute.
Exactly.
And it was right at the time that he was writing the two flute concertos and three flute quartets for the Dutch kind of amateur flutist and businessman Ferdinand de Jong.
Yep.
And looking into what was going on, Mozart, pressed for time, for whatever reason, didn't write what he was commissioned to write. He was asked to write, I think, 3 concertos and 2 quartets. He wrote only 2 concertos and was paid less money. So I think that maybe he was in frustration expressing himself to his father. It's not just because I am a flutist, but it feels very personal. But it's hard for me to think that Mozart really didn't like the flute just because his writing is sublime for my instrument.
I agree totally. I mean, anyway, I think he's having, from the letters, he's having a really good time in Mannheim. Not only because of the soprano, but because he likes the musicians. And they're good. And he isn't used to that, and he's glad to get away from Salzburg.
Yeah.
So
I can't speculate too much on the romance, but in terms of the flute music, it's quite interesting because after Mozart left Mannheim, with this concerto under his belt, he went to Paris and wrote the Mozart Flute and Harp Concerto. And what's really special for me is that we have an autographed copy of that, though the autographed copies in Mozart's own hand didn't survive for the concertos in G and D.
Right,
So I just wrote actually a review of a Henley publication of the Flute and Harp Concerto for the Mozart Society of America newsletter. And it was really a nice experience going back to the Mozart autograph of the flute and harp because what we look at is all of his articulations, which are so different in the flute and harp than they are in the flute concertos, because even art or text editions are based on the first publication of 1803.
We don't know what the manuscript, what the autograph.
Exactly, and there's every reason to think this because there's so much more edited. Many more articulations are put into the flute concertos and the flute and harp. I think it kind of is an invitation to work differently with them and maybe make them a little bit more like the flute and harp and just a little bit more close to what we know of performance practice.
I'm not sure, maybe you know, when the first editions of this piece were published.
1803.
1803?
Yeah.
That's the first published edition? And that's what we're using for
It is. So,
this.
for example, our Baroniters, we have matching scores over
matching
here.
orange scores.
Exactly.
Yes.
I think mine's a little older. I have the orange and you have the beautiful red here, and the next our shades are different. But I think they're both. They're actually based on a sort of Mozart critical edition. But the earliest material for these concertos is 1803.
Oh wow.
First printing.
Yeah.
I have to thank you, Jim, for inviting me to do this Mozart concerto in G with you and Chamber Orchestra First Editions. Mozart has been very special in my life as a musician, as a flutist, from very early on. I think the first time I started learning this piece, I was around 8, and since went on to perform both Mozart concertos in a concert, or I won the Philadelphia Orchestra competition as a student playing Mozart. The first time I met Julius Baker and he asked me to play for him, I played this concerto at a demonstration publicly at the National Flute Association, and just so many special experiences with Mozart throughout my life that
we hope this one will be one of those special experiences too.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So
Thank you
we're
very
just
much.
delighted that you're playing with us.